Ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a treat today, because today on the Hinesights Podcast, we have the incredible, the empowering, the moving, and the ever so powerful storyteller, advocate, activist, and all-around walking phenom, Tonja Myles. Not to mention the author, by the way. She is one of the fiercest mental health, suicide prevention, and recovery advocates this world has ever known. Her word has lifted from the crack house to the White House. You do not want to miss this episode. So please give a warm and uproarious welcome to the amazing Tonja Myles. Tonja, it is so wonderful to have you on the podcast today. I could not be more excited to have you on. Welcome officially to the Hinesights Podcast.
Oh, no. I've been waiting for this moment. Okay, I'm not going to sing, but I've been waiting for this moment for all my life right here. What's up, Kevin Hines?
Hey! Oh, Tonja, we have been in the field for so long together. I feel like it's been time for a long time, but here we are together. It's great.
Okay, so do people know that I was like at the first, I think, film, the first premiere of your documentary? Come on.
No, they don't know, but they should know. You were at the first premiere of the film. You spoke at the premiere. You were on the panel, Suicide: The Ripple Effect, and now we are very soon going to go to the premiere of your new film, Moving America's Soul on Suicide. Is that the right title?
By our friend David, yeah.
By David Covington the Great. Okay, you got to say the great when you say the old David Covington's name. Okay, okay, Tonja. Before we really get into the meat and bones of your story, how are you doing today?
You know what? Thank you for asking, Kevin. Because we say that, but do we really wait to hear? So you know what? Today, thank you for doing this check-in, because you know how we do it. Mm-hmm. I'm doing good today. I'm not going to lie. I just did an hour with my trainer, 30 minutes of stretching, and a 2-hour massage. So I'm feeling real good about myself.
A 2-hour massage? I don't know. I've got to tell you, I don't know how masseuses, is that what I don't know how masseuses do it, because my wife wants me to give her more than a 2-minute massage, and my hands feel like they're going to fall off. And I don't know how masseuses don't get arthritis. Do they all get arthritis? That's all I'm asking. That's all I want to know.
I don't know, but I'm telling you, you're all about self-care and you're all about brain health like I am. So, I follow you. I have to make sure that, I stay in check. So, so I'm doing good today. And thank you for asking.
Good.
A good day.
Oh, I love to hear it. The same here, by the way. It's a good brain health day for me today, which I really appreciate. So, Tonja, okay, tell us about your journey growing up and your path. As you call it, I didn't coin the phrase. You coined the phrase from the crack house to the White House. So your journey growing up, and then what led to that situation, and how you came out of it, and how you came to be the person you are today.
You know what? I mean, when I was this little girl, I had these hopes and dreams to sing on Broadway. Mm-hmm. And I think I was on track to do that. I was this little girl with the big forehead that you see right now, with the 2 ponytails, and I love to sing. And I knew how to sing probably before I knew my ABCs. And so I went to being this little entertainer to this monster. And people used to always ask me, Tonja, what the hell is wrong with you? Nobody said, Tonja, what happened to you? And so when I was 7, I was molested. The first time I tried to kill myself, I was 13. I started doing drugs at an early age. It was just recreational. Then it was pills from crack cocaine. And I'm like, oh, I'll never be a crackhead because I'm so much better than that. And before you know it, I was a straight up crackhead. My second suicide attempt landed me in a hospital at the age of 19. I was not just only suicidal, but I was homicidal as well. And so I just hated the skin I was in. I always lived my life trying to die, and even when I went in the military, me being a soldier, which I excelled at, I loved it because I was fearless and, I didn't mind fighting for a cause. And then I had this amazing dad who taught me how to fight because he saw this little girl who was having all these challenges. And so he didn't know that was what was going on in my brain because I didn't tell people what had happened or what was happening. And so, externally, I fought a lot and got kicked out of school in elementary school, just all the stuff. But I still knew that that was a plan and purpose for my life, but it got fogged up in the mess. And so years later, after, the suicide attempt, after the drug use, after the prostitution, and all the other bad choices that I made, I realized that, you know what, I did not want to die. If I did die, I wanted to die on my terms, not anybody else's. And so, the drugs were about to, just really take me out, from stealing from my parents to lying, all the other stuff. And how I got into prostitution, I didn't have a pimp because I wasn't going to do that. But, a hooker is a hooker is a hooker. It had to be a certain kind of man with a certain kind of money. Most of them, knew how to treat me right with money, and which made me want drugs even more. But at the end of the day, I thought that I was taking my power back from men that who had hurt me, and what I was doing was I was just losing my power. And it just got to the point that I didn't recognize who I was, and I hated the skin I was in. And so it was my grandmother, thank God for a praying grandmother, who told me, Tonja, God has a plan and purpose for your life. And I took her at her word. And 30 something years later, here I am, and has done all this amazing work. And I made a vow to God, if he would help me, I would help others. And I wake up every day like you, Kevin, on the mission to save lives and to change the world. And so literally, God took me from the crack house to the White House. And the funny story about that is that how I got connected with the White House for 6 amazing years under the Bush administration. I am not Democrat or Republican. Is that my husband and I have a nonprofit called Set Free Indeed. And at the time, we weren't getting any, government funding at all. We were just doing it, from our pockets, like, how we do it. And so, and so the White House was looking for a person who had lived experience, who was getting no money for the work that they were doing. And, that faith was a component of their recovery. And so they came across me. There are many organizations across the country, and they came across me and got invited to the State of the Union, sat with Mrs. Bush. President Bush talked about our program in the State of the Union address. People asked me, why didn't you stand up like everybody else did? Because I was about to fall out. And because I didn't believe that this little girl with this brown skin who had all this stuff, and the Secret Service was like, are you sure you want her to come? They did. That was a debate. And President Bush said, no, she's the one. And so it ended up being one night, ended up being 6 years advising him on things when it came to substance abuse. And so, there's that.
Tonja, you never cease to amaze me. That's part of your story I wasn't completely aware of. Incredible path you've led so far. I think that one of the things I learned certainly from Tyler Perry, he says that there are no failures in life. It's just a setup for something greater. And I see that in your story. I see a setup for something greater. You had to go through the darkest, deepest depths of hell to get to a place with God's love and faith in yourself, faith in God, faith in the human condition, faith in your ability to thrive beyond belief. And here you are, changing and saving lives all across this great nation, which is just freaking incredible. Okay, Tonja, what does a day in the life look like as you continue today to embark on your mental health journey?
Well, on my mental health journey, look, I tell, people, I'm also a military vet, and 9 years military police, whoop, whoop, will go back and defend my country any time of the day. And so, I love to work out. I wake up, and the first thing I do is meditate, and I take my medication. And I tell people you can have a script and a scripture. And so I do my little meditation with my scripture and my medicine. And then from there, I check my phone, and it is go time. But at the end of the day, as I'm allowed to do all this amazing work. I always tell people, I wake up every day like I'm on a mission. But the best mission that I have to do is make sure that I stay in check, that I keep my brain health good, that I keep my, and look, we know all of this is connected. It's just not from here to here. It's everything. So I love working out, brother. I mean, I always did love weights. And so I love weightlifting. I love boxing because I like to fight, and I'm good at it. And having a diagnosis of PTSD and anxiety and depression, fight, flight, or freeze, which one I do, cold blue in me anytime. You cold blue, all you have to say, Tonja, cold blue, give me a name. That's all you need to know. Darren got my bail money. I'm good. So you think I'm playing, but I'm serious. So, I mean, so, it's just making sure that I eat well, that I hydrate, and, and I have to have a good sleep hygiene because I have chronic insomnia. So I take, medication at night, and then I have medication that I have to take, if my anxiety, gets to a place where, I have to, tone it down. So it's medication, it's meditation, it's all the things that you talk about on your podcast and things that you go all around the world talking about to keep my brain in check and to keep myself in check so I can, be about the fight and be about the mission.
Yeah. There are some hard truths to the modalities that are scientifically proven to work to benefit brain health, to improve mental well-being. And you know them and I know them. You talked about them. You talked about sleep and exercise and healthy eating. And there's so much more beyond that, but you're practicing what you preach. You're living your truth. And in that truth, you're inspiring so many others to stand up for themselves and say, I can do this too. If she can do it, I can do it, which is incredible. Tonja, how do you address the stigma and discrimination you deal with for your mental health struggles?
Oh, Lord have mercy. So, as being a person with, lived experience and, it's addiction and, mental health, and then being, a woman of color. I mean, it's like, and then being a woman. So it's like sexism, racism, all kind of schisms, I hate stigma and, it's real, but I contribute a lot of my stuff to my dad, who always reminded me to know who I am and whose I am, and to just be the best version of myself. And when I believe in something, stick to it and you stand up for it. And so, that's why, I wake up every day to tell my truth like you do, because I want people to know that, you if I can do it, you can do it. And that there's hope, that recovery is real. The struggle is real, but so is recovery. And so, for me, it's just staying focused to what I know I need to do and to try to drown out the noise as much as I can, to know that I am on this earth for a purpose and a reason, because most people didn't think I lived to be past 18, Kevin. And the fact that I have this many birthdays, which I'm not going to tell you, it's a miracle, for real. So, stigma is real. And so that's why I'm so, dogmatic, if you will, about addressing it and about sharing my truth, because I want people to know that, you don't have to be ashamed, of your brain pain, that it is okay, that healing is your birthright. I mean, in order to heal, we have to feel, and life happens, or people, have issues that, is passed down through generations. Just like some people have high blood pressure in their family, some people have mental health that, that just passed down in their family. So for me, addressing it from every area, talking to people every day about it, connecting with people like you, sharing it in any way I can. Also, I'm all about that life, about, pushing out resources and hope, but also what are some of the policies and the procedures that are in place to discriminate against, folks that, that have these beautiful brains like me and you. No, sir. I mean, you wouldn't tell that to a cancer patient. You wouldn't do that to a person with heart disease. So, I'm very adamant, as you can tell, about, addressing stigma and eradicating it. It's just not a hashtag, but it's something I wake up every day to do.
You live this life, and it's incredible to see. Can you talk just briefly for a moment, if you can, about the public policy advocacy that you've been involved in? I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear how that goes. I'd love to hear the challenges in that and what you've learned along the way.
So, you know what? I'm so grateful that, I get to have street cred. It's just not me, but, we have a team of, 12 peers who, work, with us, through our organization. And, we're boots on the ground every day. And so, coming from the crack house to the White House, it's just not literally, me, my journey from the crack house to the White House. But really how that came to be, Kevin, is that, when we used to probably go to the White House probably every 3 months, and sometime more than that, because I would travel with the president and I would go speak on his behalf, and we would do a lot of things. We've done Bible study at the White House, so many different things. And, when there was policy and stuff like that in place, when access to recovery was, was what President Bush was pushing to get more access to care for people in recovery, I saw firsthand, how to change policy and how to, how that works from the inside, being an infiltrator, and then to come back and share that information, but locally, I know how it is because it used to be days we would actually, come from the White House, and then the next day we're in the crack house trying to pull someone out and tell them that recovery is real.
Wow.
And so, but I realize is that, there need to be more treatment. There need to be integrative care. We have to stop talking to people. Oh, that's just another addict. Are you kidding me? That's somebody's son and daughter who had hopes and dreams just like the rest of us. And how dare you just dismiss them as just being another addict or somebody with a mental health issue? Are you kidding me? And so, what does the policies look like, for people getting treatment? What does it say on the books on how do we treat people properly? What are some of the things that we have to change when it comes to insurance and Medicaid and things like that? Just a whole plethora of stuff. But, I guess having street cred, being on the street, and then able to go and speak truth to power in love, I kind of fell in my lap. And so, my mom always told me that charity begins at home and spreads abroad. And so working with local, entities like, my councilmen and state representatives and the governor here in the great state of Louisiana and Office of Behavioral Health. And then it just, platformed me into then going to testify on Capitol Hill numerous times, looking at some of the policies that's on the book and saying, why can't this be changed? And people's telling me, well, it just can't. Well, can you tell me why? Because it's been like this since 1914. And please give me a good reason why. And then, getting with some of the best people in the business and who have lived experience and said, hey, look, we can change this to make it better for all folks, all people like me who have issues with addiction or mental health.
Wow. I think I know it's not the end of the conversation, but mic drop. Okay. That was incredible. Tonja, as a lived experience advocate and expert, the expertise of your own experience, how do you address the discrimination the entire population of those who live with diagnosed mental illness experience? What do you do when someone comes up to you at an event and shares with you their darkest moment and how someone wronged them because of it? How does that affect you?
Well, it affects me personally because, like I said, look, I know how it is to be, PEC, for real. And I even have a family member who I had the PEC. And, even with me knowing everybody, Kevin, so I was always told like I was going to be like my Uncle Larry. And my Uncle Larry, had his only early onset of schizophrenia and bipolar at the age of 18. He had a scholarship and he was going to school. And he went to a party, and anyway, he didn't come back for 3 days. And, they found him later naked, on the street corner. And as growing up as a little girl, they always called him Crazy Larry. And he, lived in group homes, and he was deemed criminally insane at one time, and the charges were dropped because he had a mental health diagnosis. They blamed him for something he didn't do. And he spent 13 years of his life locked up. And so when my mom and my grandmother died, there was no way I was not going to be his caregiver, even though he lived in group homes. And I saw the conditions of some of those group homes, and I saw the conditions of how they treated people. And so I just always thought that I was going to be crazy like my Uncle Larry because I was told I was. But I must say that my uncle, when the last 7 years of his life, I was his caregiver, and he stayed in a group home. But, when there were issues where he would want to use drugs and not take his medications, and me knowing everybody, Kevin, it was still 11 times in 1 year I had to have, 11 times in 1 year I had to have a PC. And with me even knowing everybody and know how the law works, I still had to go through a lot of crap for that. And so I see firsthand every day when family members call me, I've seen firsthand my own self. I remember the last time that I tried to kill myself, which was 8 years ago, and the film talks about that. When David came to me, he said, look, I want to talk to you about your 2 suicide attempts. And I'm like, well, there's something I hadn't told anybody, and there's another story. And that last time I ended up in a mental hospital. And I remember because I was more conscious because I know this, I'm in this business. I've had treatment facilities, I've had doctors and nurses and LPCs and LCSWs work for me. And so I know, and being as a certified peer support specialist, I know when you have a note and when the police is called and all that stuff. And so I never forget going behind those doors And I've always been able to advocate and to help, folks who call us every day to navigate when they get to those places and spaces with loved ones. But Kevin, I must say, man, when I became that person myself at this juncture in my life, and I call it behavioral health, hostage. I became a behavioral health hostage. And I had no say so. It's like my constitutional rights and everything was gone. And they were just trying to get me to the next bed. And, I had to let them know, well, first of all, you're not going to treat me like this because I know my rights. And having those lived experience myself and having family members who call me every day. And that's why I'm so grateful for, 988 and, the Crisis Now model and just how, look, I never thought I would see nothing like this in my lifetime. And, even from the time that I had to have my mom PEC because she was an alcoholic and she was going to drink herself to death. And when they came to pick my mom up, they put her in handcuffs. She was drunk. My mom always been meek. And even though they put her in handcuffs to put her in the back of the police car, she wasn't a criminal. And look, the last time I suicide attempt, I trained one of the police officers who was interfacing with me. One of them I didn't. The police officer that I trained, he treated me well. The one I didn't, he didn't treat me like I was in crisis. He treated me like I was a criminal. And so I know firsthand what family members go through, and that's why I wake up every day in hopes that nobody would ever have to go through that.
What a gift you are to this world. Truly. I mean that from my gut. You're a gift. And the people you serve and the lives you change and the minds you shift, they'll never be the same after they come across you. You're a force to be reckoned with. And I think you're like me. I think that what helps you get through it every day are the 3 F's: faith, family, and friends. And it's faith in a higher power, faith in God, the family that you may have to choose, and you maybe can't pick your family, and you can't pick sometimes your friends, but you can pick your nose. But don't do that. No, that's the wrong saying. I tried to say it right, but I got it wrong. That's okay.
You're good.
That's okay. It worked out. But I really mean that, Tonja. You're an incredible force to be reckoned with, and we're lucky to have you. And we have a few more questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, look, I'm fine. Yeah, and excuse me or not excuse me, but I'm learning to cry. My dad taught me not to cry because it would be a sign of weakness, and so I'm learning to cry. I think I'm going into my 2nd year of learning how to cry. And at first, I would tell my therapist, we need to have controlled crying. I'm going to come. I know every Tuesday. That's another thing. I see a therapist. Therapy ain't scary. Every Tuesday from 9:30 to 10:30. And, I was first like, okay, I'm going to cry, but it's going to be controlled. Okay. She's like, yeah, whatever. And so, but it's a beautiful thing to cry. And so I always have to, even going, talking about stigma, I feel like I always have to tell people, look, I'm learning to cry, so don't think I'm about to have an episode, or, you have to call the coroners or something like that. I'm human. And, what you just said, I just thank you, brother, because, I have a promise to keep. My life is not my own. And the fact that I have this many birthdays, look, I know that I think I probably have maybe 30 good years left on this earth, and I'm okay with that because I've lived a great life. And a life that most people don't live. And so I plan to be real intentional about this stage of my life. And it's connecting with people like you and being inspired by people like you and your wife and so many different others that keep me going, that keep me encouraged, because you know how the fight is. But when you know that it's you and others, there's strength in numbers, brother. This is how we move the needle.
We have to move the needle. We have to keep forging onward and forward. It's a journey. It's a crooked path. There's no straight lines here. It's a crooked path, and it's a path filled with obstructions. It's a path filled with boulders and rocks and valleys and peaks and levees, and it can be scary at sometimes. And then there's the people along that path that try to harm us, hurt us, push us back, keep us down, revert our efforts, but we must keep moving forward. If you don't see hope around the corner, you haven't walked far enough to reach it. Keep going.
That's good.
Yeah. Tonja, I want to kind of dive a little deeper into it if you're okay with it. Your last hospital stay, your most recent. How did you cope afterwards? After getting from the pain to the success, pain to success, and then back again. I've been in 10 psych ward stays. I know the feeling. And for the people that don't know, you've said the words PEC 3 times here. For those that might not know, what does that mean?
So that's a physician emergency certificate where, the coroner puts a hold on you or someone, who has that kind of juice to do that. And so now, OPC, PEC, and your life is not your own anymore. And so, and look, I get it, because, I've been a threat to myself and I've been a threat to others. Like I said, suicide was not my only jam. To jam my life, it was also being homicidal. And I still struggle with those. I'm not going to lie. And because there was so much, and the data says that folks who've been abused like I was, we learn to fight, flight, or freeze. And so there are a lot of things that still trigger me, but they don't control me. That's a preach. And, and so I know what's in my toolbox and I have a circle of trust that I can live with. But to answer your question, you know what, Kevin, I mean, my husband and I was having a rough patch. And so people always saw Darren and Tonja as this, great couple doing all these great things. And I knew that because of my background, because of having a mental health diagnosis and, ex-prostitute and sex addiction and drug addiction. And I was told when we got married, if anything happened in your marriage, you're going to be blamed. And I'm like, yeah. And that's always been in the back of my mind. And so we was having a rocky challenge and I left. Nobody knew that I had left. We were still, hanging out and doing, our business and, ministry together. And so when I got out, a funny thing happened in the hospital is that I had 17 of my family members and loved ones sit across the table. You know how it is. And we're sitting here and they're sitting over there. And I looked at all their faces. And it was almost like every last one of them got together and said, we're going to have this look on our face. And every last one of them that came to visit me had a look of pain and hurt. And it was scared. I saw my pain in them. And it hit me that if I do this, I always thought, and you know how it is, most people tell you, I don't want to burden anybody because I don't want them to bear this pain. So that's why I want to die, to get rid of the pain. But the pain does not die with us. It transfers to them.
That's right.
And I never want anybody to go through that. And so that was an aha moment for me. And then, going to therapy, getting on medication, because it took a lot to bring me, down to my baseline. And there were medications that I was so ashamed to say that I was on. And I don't think people know how much medication I was on. And then that's another thing of trying to find the right medication. Oh my God, that's why I'm so grateful for the Huntsman, to be a part of the Huntsman Family Foundation, who we're about to bust up and build the biggest research center when it comes to mental health and substance abuse in the country.
Wow.
And so, it's scheduled to open in 2026, late 2026. And so, Kevin, a lot of medication, for real, a lot of therapy, a lot of love and support from my family. But more than that, brother, a lot of love and support from me to me. I had never did that before.
That self-love, that acceptance, that appreciating the good, the bad, the dangerous, the difficult, the painful, because pain is inevitable. It's coming for all of us if it hasn't already, but suffering can be a choice.
Yeah.
And that, I talk about this in my presentations, but every clinician I used to have told me I was suffering from bipolar, suffering from depression, suffering from mental illness, suffering from eating disorders when I was big time as a high school wrestler, as part of the culture, not ashamed to say that as a man. Suffering, 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 suffering. That's what they told me. I adopted that narrative as my own. I became a sufferer. I wrote about it. I vlogged about it. I made a documentary about it. But Tonja, that only made me the victim of my own story until I woke up one day in the middle of the pain and said, wait a minute, perspective must shift right now. I can fight my pain in spite of my pain, despite of my pain, and I can thrive with you, Tonja, today. And that's a choice I get to make. Suffer or choose to thrive and be the hero of your own journey. And you, Tonja, are one of my heroes. You're one of my heroes. And I love it.
Takes one to know one, brother. It takes one to know one.
I love you. You're incredible. I want to ask you, what is there something that helped you change from wanting to die to choosing to live every day? What was that transition? Is it an ongoing transition?
You know what? So, like you, I suffered, from eating disorder, and I still have an issue with body dysmorphia.
Okay.
And, it comes with, a lot of, folks like me who've been abused. It was always my fault. I lived most of my life blaming me, for the rapes, the abuse. I blame myself even from 7-year-old on the way up to I was 19. And so when I finally began to learn that it was not my fault, because I was blaming and punishing myself, and I had to really dig deep and remember that 7-year-old girl with the big buck teeth, with the big forehead, who had hopes and dreams, who loved entertaining people. I had to go back to the scene of every crime, and I had to get her back at 7. I had to get her back at 13. I had to get her back at 14, 15, 16, and I got her back. Because I thought she died, Kevin. I used to tell people that I died and nobody grieved for me. And I was always just a dead man walking. And that's why people used to ask me, you got a death wish? What do you're just so risky, because I was really just looking for a way out from the pain. And until I began to, really address the trauma, and because there was a song I used to sing, and the words went like this, that somebody wrote for me, not knowing what was going on with me. But one of my mentors, when I sung in this choir, said, I am just a child I know. Everything I am will grow. Things that hurt when I am small grows much bigger when I'm tall. Mm-hmm. And because that's how trauma is, it'll come back and it'll bite you in the butt. It's a beast. And so because I didn't address the trauma, but until the pain had a name, it all made sense. I'm not crazy. I'm wounded. That's why one of my tagline is trained to fight while wounded, because my dad taught me how to fight because he saw me, wanting to kill myself with a weakness. He didn't know. He just did not know. And he did his best, and I'm glad he did. And so then when the military, I got in the military and they train you to fight while wounded, I was good at it already. And so, but not until I began to just address it, until I began to course correct me and start loving me and stop blaming me, I fell in love with Tonja again. And so Tonja deserves to live. And then I always remember my grandmother telling me I had a plan, and that there was a plan and purpose for my life. And so I do believe that, and I protect my peace. I protect my purpose like never before.
Tonja, I think it's safe to say you may be wounded, but you are a wounded healer. And my wife and I appreciate you to no end. We're so grateful you agreed to come on the Hinesights Podcast. Thank you for your time here today. Thank you for sharing the depths of your story with the world. This episode is going to help so many people find the light at the end of their tunnel so they can continue. Friends, family, subscribers, folks watching, viewing, subscribing, share this episode. Share this episode with anyone who's ever been in pain. And just a hint, that should be everybody. Okay.
Oh, but we ain't finished, right? Because we tag teaming for the rest of our life, right?
Oh, we're doing this. We're doing work together till the end of time. Okay. Tonja, thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on. I'll give you the last word. What would you say as we close out here to someone who's going through something similar that you went through? Look directly in the camera and tell them why they could or should live, why they should.
I think I said it earlier. Healing is all of our birthright. It is your birthright to heal. No matter what has been done to you, or no matter what you've done, no matter what diagnosis or whatever's going on in your life, healing is your birthright. You deserve that. You are a beautiful human being. You are not put here by accident, and you have purpose. And so lock into that purpose and that potential. Be the best version of yourself because it's in there. No matter what's going on, healing is your birthright, and you deserve it.
You deserve it. There it is. Tonja Myles, everybody. Take care, be well, and whatever the heck you do, be here tomorrow and every single day after that. Subscribe to the Hinesights Podcast. Follow us wherever podcasts are found. And take care, and we'll see you. Bye now.